Look at this coach that you hired. What's he making? $3 million? Do you know that he's not even in the top 50 highest paid college coaches? I looked it up. Top 25 coaches, you know what their average salary is? $5 million. That's in college. They went cheap on the coach. They saved money on hiring Nick Sirianni. They're $20 million under the cap. What the fuck do you expect? And you're on a rookie contract with a second-round quarterback. It's your boy, Big Sills. Look at that, Jermaine. I love you already out of the gate here. As we are here again, and what an absolutely spectacular time in football. What a spectacular time in sports. The content is not just about what's on the field, is it? Trades. Odell Beckham today, where's he land, right? We should get a pretty good sense if he cleared waivers or if he's on a new football team. So could that change the direction of a team if he lands somewhere or somebody signs Odell Beckham? We should find out during our show. That just shows you here that there's topics that are going to be rolling in as the show's going on. So it is really a spectacular time. No question about it. Now, as you heard me say to Jermaine here, hey, man, we welcome everybody aboard the National Football Show. You guys are just absolutely great. We so appreciate you guys stepping in with us. I put a whole bunch of things together. We have content. You have content. It's Eagles and Broncos this week. Week 10 of the National Football League. College football, it's really two teams in the field. Do we agree with that? It's Bama and Georgia in the field. The rest of the teams in college football, they're kind of good. Bama and you know what's funny? Xander goes like this to me. This is not a really good Bama team compared to what we've seen in the last, say, 10 years. I know, but get this. This Bama team is still capable of winning the national championship. That just shows you where college football is this year. Maybe not the greatest year for spectacular teams. I think this Georgia team is pretty good. They're pretty loaded. There's no question, though. It's those two teams and the field. All right. So we welcome you guys in. We thank you again for coming aboard. Anything you want, we add to the content. All right. I'm going to start it off with the Philadelphia Eagles here. Record right now for the football team is 3-6. And I was on the middle today, earlier in the day, and I appreciate everybody saying that we had a really great time with Harry Mays. I think Harry is a great broadcaster, and I so appreciate going on with him, and I enjoy going on with him. And I'm not, hey, know this, Big Sills is not much for doing partner radio or doing partner broadcasting, but I like him. And he and I were talking about some of the things that we're circling around with the Eagles. They got a lot of draft choices, obviously, next year. They're going to have 3 first-round draft choices in the top 10. All of that is great, unless you start talking about Howie Roseman. So we ping-ponged that back and forth. You know, in the process, though, it dawned on me on why the Eagles are in this position, 3-6. They talk like they're the Super Bowl champions still. But they're cheap. They're cheap. How can the Philadelphia Eagles be $21 million under the salary cap? You're at the midway point of the season, and you got a football team that's $21 million under the salary cap? How in the world can you call yourself a contender when management and ownership is not reinvesting in the team that they have assembled? Think of this for a minute. They go to Eagle fans and make you guys pay $365 a ticket to go to Lincoln Financial. And they want you to invest in that team. They're telling you at the beginning of the year, we got a great roster. We got an up-and-coming coach. This Nick Sirianni guy, you guys are going to be so impressed with him. Hey, remember that draft choice we got in the second round, Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts is going to be our guy, and I'm going to prove it to you. You watch him. You hear all these words. But then you do this. Okay, sounds good, man. But then you look at the team's actions. You trade Zach Ertz away. You're $21 million under the salary cap. You were shopping Fletcher Cox. And you were shopping Fletcher Cox because you basically have the highest paid player on your team, and he's a defensive tackle. If the team and the owner and the GM don't believe in their own product, why should you? Now, I'm not surprised they're 3-6. You get what you pay for. When you're that much, $20 million under the salary cap, you're not investing in your team. You're not. You're bullshitting people. And the people are the fans. Howie Roseman and the owner of the Eagles bullshitted you this year. They plain and simple bullshitted you. Their actions of not investing in the team, guys, this isn't a Dan Sileo take. This is their actions. So when you're talking about, hey, this team was a playoff team, they didn't believe it was. Or they would have done everything in their power. Jerry Jones spares no nickels when he assembles a roster. Okay? And if you look at it too, did you see how much money Bill Belichick paid in the offseason? What was it, like $330 million in free agent money that they went into the open market? There's a reason they're 5-4. They went out and spent $300 million in contracts to improve the team. Okay? That's actions. You don't see Bill, hey, Mac Jones is spectacular. Mac's going to be our guy. You don't see any of that in New England. They don't really tell you what they're doing. They go and do it. It's almost like it's a sales pitch with the Eagles to try to convince their fans that they're doing right by them. No, you're not. You have not invested in any way in your own product. If I am a buying season ticket holder, why in the fuck would I buy season tickets to the Philadelphia Eagles when ownership and the general manager are not spending the money it takes to build a championship team? Why in the world would they do that? Okay? Doesn't make sense to me. You're not believing in your own product. Can you believe how much money they're on? I was stunned when I saw that last night. I looked it up and I brought it up when I was filling in for the middle today. And Harry goes, yeah, wow. The Eagles are $21 million. They're $20.9 million under the salary cap. Jesus, criminy. You know what that means next year, right? When you turn the calendar, you're going to be about 25 to 27 million under the salary cap, and you're going to have 11 draft choices. Holy cow. So you're just building up all this equity? For what, man? For a guy that's not a very good draft evaluator. Maddie says they will take that $21 million rolling into next season where they're already $25 million under at the moment. Maddie, you think they're going to go out into the open market? You really do. And you think they're going to spend all that money? And they're going to, remember, and you got to sign all those draft choices. That's a lot of financial commitment. Is the owner of the Eagles willing to do that? To go out and spend that kind of money? Guys, the Eagles are 3-6 because, hey, Maddie says, no, I don't. Maddie, the Eagles are cheap. They talk like the Buccaneers and act like the Jaguars financially. I cannot believe I'm saying this. The Eagles are cheap. That's why the general manager has so much control. You know, I was talking earlier in the day about this. People are always like, what does Howie Roseman have on the owner of the Eagles? What does he have on him? Okay, well, you know what he has? You know what he has on him? Well, he's going to have him $25 million under the cap next year. He's going to have 11 draft choices. He's managing his money. And they're somewhat competitive. And you know what their mentality is to you Eagle fans? You guys won a championship a couple years ago. That's good enough for now. Now what we're going to do is recoup some money. We're going to sit around and put around for a little bit, and we'll try to get into contention through draft choices, which makes it always cheaper. Okay? Escape says the Eagles DC tried blitzing more than he has this past season on Sunday and even disguising coverages, but it didn't work. We simply don't have the linebackers to get the job done. Escape, this is what I'm talking about. I said this on Monday here. The Eagles were not going to beat the Chargers. Why? You just don't have a good enough roster. Now I know why. You didn't invest in yourselves. Wick says, we all talk about firing Howie, but Jeffrey keeps him around to hold on to his wallet. Wick, right. It is more important for the Eagle owner to balance the books than it is to win a championship. When those two guys fell into that title a couple of years back in 2017, this gave them the autonomy to do this. Look at what they've done. They have stripped down the team. And get this, you're $21 million under the cap with Carson Wentz's contract still on your books. How in the fuck is that possible? So are you really telling me if Carson Wentz wasn't on your books, you'd be $35 million under the cap? Man. Guys, it's plain and simple. You know, I kept looking at the team like, man, you know what? This is because I wasn't in the market and I wasn't really covering the team. You know, I was covering it from 30,000 feet. Now I know why you guys are here. And I kept going like this. Well, you know what? They won a Super Bowl 4 years ago. They can't be that bad. They're probably still in the – look what's going on with Atlanta. Atlanta's 5-4 now. Got a pretty big game against Dallas this weekend. They may win that game. And they're starting to gather themselves a little bit. New coach, new system, new philosophy. They're starting to spend a little money. They got a nice draft pick. And this kid Pitts from Florida. Dude, man. Remember I said this to Gary Cobb on Monday. I said, look, man, they played well. They're just not a good roster. And I kept thinking to myself, how are you the Philadelphia Eagles and you don't have a good roster? Okay, how is that? And now I know. Then you look at the cap space. Dude, it is unprecedented. Maybe I need to accentuate that point a little more. Guys, it is unprecedented for NFL teams to be that far under the cap unless you're the Jags and teams like that. By the way, I think the Jags are actually going in a good direction. I think Trevor Lawrence is playing better and better. I do. I'm watching him, and he's carrying the weight of that football team on his broad shoulders. I actually think he's getting better. I think the guy's getting better. By the way, Odell Beckham Jr. officially a free agent. That's scary because now he gets to pick his place. Now he gets to pick his place. I'm going to tell you the significance of that here in a minute. You better pray he doesn't go to Dallas. Look, there was a $7.5 million amount that was on that deal if you picked up his contract. Nobody was going to pick up. And by the way, the good teams don't have cap space. That's why they couldn't pick him up. And to me, I think Beckham set it up like that, knowing that the majority of the good teams and contending teams right now don't have the cap space. So what they did was $7.5 million. The majority of the good teams, all the contending teams, man, they're over the cap in many places. Okay? They're over the cap. So they set that up so that he knew he wouldn't be claimed, and now he knew that he would get an opportunity to pick his place. I'll explain that here in a minute, but I just want to make sure you understand this. The Eagles are in the position they're in because ownership and the general manager are cutting costs, not just cutting players, but they're cutting costs. How are you $21 million under the cap with Carson Wentz's money still on your books? Guys, they're not investing in their team. Your actions don't speak to it. You're just barking shit. Kevin says, Dan, been saying this about the owner for 25 years. It's all about the money. That's why Joe Banner was there and Howie. Completely, dude. Robert, because of Jalen. Carlos, appreciate you coming aboard. There is no question Joe Banner and Howie Roseman. The reason that the owner of the Eagles loved those two guys really wasn't about building a championship roster. It was more about building a competitive football team so you guys would buy into it. And as long as they were competitive against the Giants and the Cowboys, they would think you were fighting it out. There is no way. Now I know 17 was an aberration. Things just fell right. Because you're not able to – you can't sustain success when you're cutting costs. You can't. You know what's funny about New England? New England all the time was always pushed against the salary cap. They were always up against the cap. You know why? They had a balanced salary cap. They paid money for special teams, the Adam Vinatieri's and people like that, and made sure their special teams were as good a unit as any other unit on their squad. They were able to spread the money out when it came to backups and such, when it came to being able to get really great defenders, but not high-priced defenders. Every time guys like Darrelle Revis and their contracts came up, what did they do? They shipped them. Look what they did with Stephon Gilmore. This guy's 2 years removed from winning the NFL Defensive Player of the Year award. He wanted a new contract. They said, fuck that. You're out. Chalk it up to Philly sports. You got to spend money to make money. When you win, your organization earns more. Hey, chalk it up, Sports Philly. Let me say this to you here, brother. Okay? When you invest and reinvest in your own squad, you know what you also do? You create an environment inside your locker room that you're going to be elevated, and that next man up mentality truly exists. That's why in Pittsburgh, do you guys ever remember the Pittsburgh Steelers ever going out in the free agent market and signing anybody of subsequence when it came to big money guys? You know, when Jerome Bettis went to the Steelers, people thought he was done with the Rams. So they got him on a bargain basement. The Steelers do not. You know what they do? They want you to get to your second contract. They want to, because that means the scouting department did their job, and now the economic side of the department has to do their job. They don't want to lose players. When you make a draft choice in Pittsburgh, dude, the chances of you being a Steeler for 2 contracts is really awesome. We were talking about Howie Roseman's draft choices over the last couple of years. Oaks. Back to 2016 and 17. Go back to 15, 16. Nobody's on the team from those teams. It's crazy. They talk like they're the champions still from 17, but they spend money like the Jaguars. Can't win championships like that. You've got to invest in your players. And then what do? They not only not invest in their players, but then they go out and they get a training wheels coach. If you're a championship team and you're a championship organization, look at what the Washington team did. What did they do? They didn't go and get some young nobody. They got Ron Rivera, who had led a team to a Super Bowl, and is a guy in the locker room that everybody respects. I'm not saying that some of these young guys aren't really up and coming. I love Sean McVay. I'm a big Sean McVay guy. But guys, this is really, it's evident now. The Philadelphia Eagles are cheap. They talk a big game. The fans sit there and they buy it. Because you know why? You want to buy it. That's your team. You buy it. That's a sad thing, man. It's a sad thing when you're being bullshitted. Look at this coach that you hired. What's he making? $3 million? Do you know that he's not even in the top 50 highest paid college coaches? I looked it up. Top 25 coaches, you know what their average salary is? $5 million. That's in college. They went cheap on the coach. They saved money on hiring Nick Sirianni. They're $20 million under the cap. What the fuck do you expect? And you're on a rookie contract with a second-round quarterback. Smile says, relax. Eagles got rid of the problem. Peterson and Wentz. I don't know. Carson Wentz this week, they beat the Jags. They're 5-5. And as far as I'm concerned, Doug Peterson is going to have a job of his choice. I don't know. Really? Okay. Smile, I disagree. Peterson's going to have the job of his choice. And Carson right now, they win this week against the Jags. They're 5-5. And I think they're going to win that. They could be 5-5 after that horrible start. I don't know. Really? Odell Beckham Jr. is a free agent. Where do you think he lands? That's been some story too, right next to this Aaron Rodgers story. Hey, we're going to catch up with our friend, Jason Cole, NFL Hall of Fame insider, to move Bill Romanowski. He'll be tomorrow, and we're going to talk some defense with him. But I want to talk to Jason. Where does OBJ land? Okay? This Bronco team that the Eagles are going to be, I think Vigil may have saved his job. Okay? We'll talk to Jason. You guys post it. You keep it going. By the way, I got to tell you guys something. Of all the shows on the JAKIB Media channel, you guys hitting the like button makes everyone know that you love this show so much. We kill it on that. You're great. Do me a favor. That like button. My boy Jason's going to catch right here on the channel.